Good morning. My name is Jonathan Goodman. I'm in charge of corporate communications for Volvo Cars. Welcome to Stockholm. Welcome to the presentation of our annual results for 2016. Welcome also to the people who are following us on the live link. Without further ado, I will very simply hand over to Håkan Samuelsson to start the presentation.
Thank you, Jonathan. And a warm welcome, good morning also from me. We are here to tell you about our result 2016. I think we had an excellent result, and I personally think we are exactly where we should be in this part of the Volvo transformation. And the highlights is we had a growth, 10% revenue growth, reached 180 billion. So we are growing rather fast. We made 11 billion profit, 6.1 return on sales. And that is something I did not believe we would reach 3 years earlier, 3 years ago. All-time high in volume, 534,000 cars. It's the third year now we are reporting an all-time high. And two things that I think is extra interesting to report is we created 3,000 new jobs in the group last year. I think that's very positive. And despite the heavy investments in the largest transformation we ever made in the company, we had a cash flow, positive cash flow, that we financed all of this investment with the generated cash from operations. I think, personally, I think that is impressive. So out on the market, as you know, we are now a global company with 3 home regions. Americas, in the US market is of course the most important one in Americas. We confirmed the turnaround with the 18% growth and after a very successful launch of the XC90, a car that has really been a success on the market. Now we are in the phase of introducing the second car out to our customers, the S90. In Europe, we continued our profitable growth. We had a 2.7% growth. And in China, after the start of the year where we introduced XC90, in the last 6 months, we really saw a regain momentum, and we reached at the end an 11.5% growth. And now we are also in China selling the XC90 in the volumes we would like to do after a ramp-up period. So altogether 6.2% growth, and that's really was limited by our production capacity. We could have grown faster if we could build more cars, so that is now the challenge, of course, in our operations. We have now completed the introduction of the 90 family, and we are in the middle of the transformation of the Torslanda plant into a pure spa plant with a capacity of 300,000 cars, where that plant has never been. And I think historically we never made more than 200,000 cars in the factory. And right now we are taking the next step in ramping up the plant up to 62 jobs per hour. That means now we will have takt times under a minute, which really is appropriate for a car factory in this size. For the first time, we build a car in less than a minute. And that is also why we are employing now 700-800 people, which will be brought on board till after the vacation. Then we will really produce to the new pace. In parallel, we are starting up S90 in Daqing, northern China, where we will build the sedans, the S90s. And we are also getting ready with the Luqiao plant, which is a plant which we will operate. It's operated according to Volvo standards. We will start also there building Lynk & Co cars for Geely. And last but not least, Charleston plant's underway, totally according to plan. Building is now ready. Now we're beginning with installation of equipment. Middle next year's first car, the S60, the new S60, will roll out of that factory. And then we will also, with Daqing and Charleston, have the capacity we need to continue our growth towards our 800,000. Financially and transparency-wise, we have also made progress. We have been twice out on the financial market, on the bond market. We issued bonds corresponding to 8 billion SEK, and before Christmas we brought 3 institutional investors on board with an equity investment of totally 5 billion, and that I think is a very confident sign that we also have the reporting transparency which the financial market requires from a company with the ambitions of acting as a listed company. To that picture, of course, also is included that we also have 2 ratings now, making us ready for the bond market. Financially, the 11 billion profit, Hans, and then the 180 revenues. Please give us some details about that.
Very pleased. It was record sales, record profits, and a positive cash flow. We did an increase of 6% in retail sales, around 10% in net revenue, and 66% in EBIT and 67% in net income. This slide shows a couple of things. Retail sales grow by 6%, as I said, but revenue grow by 10%. And that shows us that the new cars is more worth in our turnover than what an average sale in volume would be. You can also see that EBIT and net income follows each other, which is also good, so you don't have any strange things going on in between there. And most importantly, you can see that the revenue flows through to the margin, so you see a substantial margin improvement on this slide. Net revenue, strong growth. I've already touched upon it, 164 billion up to 180 billion. Back on volumes, of course, but again, more importantly, on sales mix. It's, of course, the new XC90, the S90, the V90 introductions on the new Spa platform, but also the old XC60. Doesn't seem so old because it had a record year last year again, but it is in its end of its life as we are introducing a new XC60 this year, as you know. EBIT, 4% to 6% EBIT margin. You should remember then that in 2014 we had 1.5%. So we have gone 1.5%, 14, to 4% up to 15, and now from 15 to 16 up to 6%. So shows that we are on the right track in our transformation plan to improve the margins. Quarterly we will still be a little bit volatile, but if you look over a period of time, the trend is where it should be. Volume 2.2, sales mix 5.2, follows the revenue with new XC90s, etc. Exchange cost and other on 3 billion. We don't comment specifically on exchange, but it hasn't had any major impact between 15 and 16. Cost, we follow our plan. Cost increases is made mainly in research and development for new models, etc., and also in advertising following the volume increase. So this leads up to a profit of 11 billion versus 6.6 last year. Very satisfying for the future of Volvo Cars. Cash flows, maybe the most important slide in the financial presentation today. This shows we started off with 35 billion, including a working capital facility of 6, as you can see, and now up to 49 billion in liquidity. Says that we continue to be able to cover our investments and more. So operationally, we generate more than we invest, and then you know that we are peaking in investments at this time. Continue investments in new models, and also now starting up investments in the Charleston plant in US. Financing of 5.8 here. Håkan showed 8 billion in bonds, and then 5 million in the private placement makes 13 billion. But then we have amortized some of our debt as well. So the net effect here is around 6 billion. So liquidity position, very strong. Net cash position of 19 billion have improved again. This means that since the acquisition of Volvo Cars from G'ili, then we have actually managed now to finance all our investments in these 5 years, and we would still kind of hold 19 billion up till now. So Håkan will talk a little bit about the strategic journey, but financials looks very promising.
So thank you, Hans. A very good year. I think was a crucial milestone for our company, but the journey and the transformation continues. We will continue rolling out new cars. We will continue growing, for sure. Already this year there will be 2 very important SUVs presented, but we will talk with you more and more in the future about how we will commercialize new technology. A lot of people, everybody talk about car sharing, electrification, autonomous drive. We want to enter into concepts and structure where we can create value with these technologies and also create revenue streams. So this will be the next phase of strengthening Volvo Cars. And then we are talking about 3 areas mainly. Autonomous drive, I think we have made most concrete. We have a 3-leg strategy to this new technology. It's about software, all the way from computer vision to the actuation of the car. This software we will develop together with Autoliv in a new company called Zenuity, 50/50 owned. And that company will also act on the market, on market conditions, selling software to other OEMs, creating revenues and creating value. But we are quite confident in this way we will also get the impulses needed to be even faster and better for Volvo Cars. So together with partners we will be stronger. We need also hardware, also of course to finance this investment, and hardware, I mean the car, cannot achieve autonomous drives only with software. You also need a car with a 2-circuit steering, 2-circuit brakes, 2-circuit electric system to really fulfill the safety standards we look for. And that car we developed together with Uber in California, and of course also share the cost. We develop the car and they co-finance 50%. That's also an important partnership, which of course also give us ideas and impulses and very creative dialogue with their engineers. Third element, which is unique for Volvo in this area, is people. And because we don't think this is not chips, this is not technology, it's also how will people react in a car like this? How will they use this new functionality? And we need also to test this together with the authorities, people who will set the rules around liabilities and responsibility. They are on board. Very unique project, Drive Me, starting this year, and the very first customers have received their cars and are now beginning testing it. I think the large number of cars and people you will see towards the end of this year. So this is a very important element, and our ambition is to bring out the customer a car with this functionality after 2020. 2021 is our ambition to have a car with this functionality, a true autopilot where you can sit back and do something else. And with that technology, I think we take a huge step forward of making Volvo more premium. Would be a very attractive functionality into a premium car when you can start having your conference calls and working in the car. It will be a working place and much more valuable. Another area is electrification. I think it's getting clearer and clearer that if we have ambitions of coming down with CO2 levels, we cannot do that by improving the efficiency of engines, petrol engines nor diesel engines. We need to add electrification into the equation. We need to have a higher mix of electrified cars. Therefore, we see all our new cars will have twin engine, hybrid concepts. For example, the XC90 we're selling right now, we sell 15% with twin engine. And that will follow on all our models, and then we will have pure drivetrains, as we call them, which will be all electric. First car will be out 2019. And I think the percentages of these cars will be the way of coming down in CO2 for the future. So this is an area we will talk more about, and we will also invite you to sessions to tell you more about how we see this and how we see the future of the combustion engine later this year. The third area is really it's digital experience and connectivity services. I mean, in-car experiences is a new area. It's not just infotainment. There is a whole array of new services that will be presented in the car. We have the ambition to be an open platform for developers, being the absolute best integrator of infotainment and in-car experience service systems. And to do this, we will set up or have set up a new development center in Mountain View, California, which will lead this job and then pilot these services with customers. And we also brought on board a new digital officer heading our all IT and digital area within the Volvo Car Group. It's Atif Rafik, and I'm very proud to have him on board. He can bring us to the next level in this area. And we will also work with mobility, and also here we want to commercialize this concept into revenue-creating units, and we will create a mobility unit. We have created a mobility unit which we will also make more concrete during the year. We have hired Bodil Eriksson heading up that, and we will look into mobility per mile concept, because I think owning a car, having your full-time car is not going to be the only way to provide mobility in the future. Especially big cities need very convenient mobility per mile solutions. Us being a part of the Uber concept is of course one way for us of participating in this market with the cars. But we have also had since many years Sunfleet, the biggest car-sharing company in the Nordic region, has always been partly owned by Volvo, 50%. Now we have acquired that company to 100%, and we will use that as the base to further develop this concept into new areas, also using new technology with keyless digital keys and so on, making this even more convenient. So these are the areas where you will can expect to hear more from us in the future. And I think it's also very important areas to continue strengthening the Volvo Car Group in the future, on top of the new beautiful cars that will come. And if you look into now the 2017, this year, we will continue growing the company, continue building up production capacity, launching new cars, because that's really now limiting our growth. Right now it's S90 that's on its way out, but we will continue to change over in the company, and in Geneva later, in some weeks' time, we will show to you the new XC60. It's really the best seller in the Volvo Car Group. Already today, that car is the best sold premium SUV in its size in Europe, not in Sweden, in Europe. and the new one will of course be even better, and we expect to strengthen that position. And the XC90 and XC60 today is more than 50% of our revenues and sales. And on top of that, later this year, we add then the XC40. For the first time, we will have a small SUV also, based on the new CMA platform. So we will then have 3 brand new SUVs when we close this year. And that will, of course, be then something that is well above 50% of our sales, and really will be the future backbone of Volvo, because we have a very strong position in the SUV segment. So we see with that we will grow to a new record this year. We will also maintain our strong profit levels, despite, of course, heavy transformation and changeover in our industrial system. So it will also be a good year where all of our employers can rightfully be proud of their contributions to the transformation of Volvo. So we will celebrate that also, but it will also be a stepping stone, of course, for the 91st and 92nd year, which will take the company further. Thank you for your what do you say? Attendance? No, attention was the word, sorry. So now we are ready to take any questions.
We're going to have a question session now for those of you. Some of you obviously are going to be involved in round tables and everything else, but if you have any questions, we can take it. Could I just ask you, we have got a live feed, so in order that the people who are watching can hear any questions that you have, could you just indicate you'd like to ask a question? We'll get a microphone to you. And then if you could just introduce yourself and the organisation you work for, we'd be delighted to answer any questions you have. So if there are any, please let us know now.
There are too many limitations there, Jonathan. Should be something.
There's a question over here.
Jan Eilander, Swedish Television. When will you reach the target of 800,000 cars, and how will you do it?
We will do it by having very attractive cars which people want to buy, and that is of course based on the new cars. I said 2 very important models will come this year. Then there will be a new V60 and new S60 from the Charleston plants, and that is of course the base. And if that takes 1 year longer or 1 year shorter is not that important. I'm confident with this new product program we can reach 800,000 cars, and we should be able to reach that around 2020.
Jan-Erik Bergen from Express in Sweden. North America is a very important market for you. Are you worried about the political situation over there?
We are, of course, following that. I think right now you should wait and see what comes out concretely and not speculate about that. And we have a very global organization now. We have a new factory in the US which will start next year, which will not just build cars for US market, but will also export market. So I think that's a good example of how we can create jobs also in the US by exporting. So we're looking forward of seeing what the new administrations comes up with and cooperate with them.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think if there are no further questions, we'll say thank you, and we'll thank you for your attention and move on to the next session of interviews.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.